of spreading peace, the joy of loving one another, and the joy acknowledging that the poorest of the poor are our brothers and sisters. As we have gathered here to thank God for this gift of peace, I have given you all the prayer for peace that St. Francis of Assisi prayed many years ago. And I wonder, he must have felt the need what we feel today to pray for. I think you have all got a paper with you. We'll say it together. Lord, make me a channel of your peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by forgetting self that one finds. It is by forgiving that one is forgiven. It is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. God loved the world so much that he gave his son, and he gave him to a virgin, the Blessed Virgin Mary. And she, the moment he came in her life, went in haste to give him to others. And what did she do there? She did the work of the handmaid. Just serve. Just spread that joy of loving through service. And Jesus Christ loved you and loved me, and he gave his life for us. And as if that was not enough for him, he kept on saying, love as I have loved you, as I love you now. And how do we have to love? To love in the giving. For he gave his life for us. And he keeps on giving. And he keeps on giving right here, everywhere, in our own lives and in the lives of others. It was not enough for him to die for us. He wanted that we love one another, that we see him in each other. That's why he said, blessed are the clean of heart, for they shall see God. And to make sure that we understand what he means, he said that the hour of death, we are going to be judged on what we have been to the poor, to the hungry, the naked, the homeless. And he makes himself that hungry one, that naked one, that homeless one, not only hungry for bread, but hungry for love. Not only naked for a piece of cloth, but naked with of that human dignity. Not only homeless for a room to live, but homeless for that being forgotten, being unloved, uncared, being nobody to nobody, having forgotten what is human love, what is human touch, what is to be loved by somebody. And he says, whatever you did the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. It is so beautiful for us to become holy through this love. For holiness is not the luxury of the few. It is a simple duty for each one of us. And through this love, we can become holy. Through this love for one another. And today, when I have received this award, I personally am most unworthy. And I, having avowed poverty, to be able to understand the poor, I choose the poverty of our poor people. But I am grateful and I'm very happy to receive it in the name of the hungry, of the naked, of the homeless, of the crippled, of the blind, of the lepers, of all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared, throwaway of the society, people who have become a burden to the society and are shunned by everybody. In their name, I accept the award. And I'm sure this award is going to bring an understanding love between the rich and the poor. And this is what Jesus has insisted so much. That's why Jesus came on earth, to proclaim the good news to the poor. And through this award, and through all of us gathered here together, we are wanting to proclaim the good news to the poor, that God loves them, that we love them, that they are somebody to us, that they too have been created by the same loving hand of God, to love and to be loved. Our poor people are great people, are very lovable people. They don't need our pity and sympathy. They need our understanding love. They need our respect. They need that we treat them with dignity. And I think this is the greatest poverty that we experience, that we have in front of them, who may be dying for a piece of bread, but they die with such dignity. I never forget when I brought a man from the street. He was covered with maggots. His face was the only place that was clean. And yet that man, when we brought him to our home for the dying, he said just one sentence: I have lived like an animal in the street, but I am going to die like an angel, love and care. And he died beautifully. He went home to God. For death is nothing but going home to God. And he, having enjoyed that love, that being wanted, that being loved, being somebody to somebody at the last moment, brought that joy in his life. And I feel one thing I want to share with you all. The greatest destroyer of peace today is the cry of the innocent, unborn child. For if a mother can murder her own child in her own womb, what is left for you and for me to kill each other? Even in the scripture, it is written, even if mother could forget her child, I will not forget you. I have curved you in the palm of my hand. Even if mother could forget. But today, millions of unborn children are being killed. And we say nothing. In the newspapers, you read numbers of this one and that one being killed, this being destroyed, but nobody speaks.
Hello, I'm Joshua William Gelb, and welcome to Theater in Quarantine. It's Monday, December 14th, and it's 7 o'clock here in New York City, so thank you for tuning in and joining me for I Am Sending You the Sacred Face by Heather Christian. It's been a little over 8 months since I converted the closet in my East Village apartment, measuring 4 feet wide by 8 feet tall and only 2 feet deep, into the white box digital performance laboratory that we call Theater in Quarantine. With co-creative director Katie Rose McLaughlin, we've been expanding our roster of collaborators and working with some really wonderful institutional supporters such as La Mama, Culture Hub, the Invisible Dog Art Center, and of course tonight's co-presenter, Theater Mitu. Now, we developed tonight's performance as part of Theater Mitu's Expansion Works, which is an ongoing program that creates space for artists to work across disciplines and incubate alternative modes of artistic inquiry. Now, this is an opportunity for Theater Mitu to invite and involve their community in the process of experimentation and to actively engage audiences in interrogating how we define theater and how we best share and articulate the stories of our time. Now, we've been so thrilled to be a part of this program, and really thank you to Theater Mitu for your support and your collaboration. Now, the performance tonight runs about 40 minutes, and now afterwards I'll be hanging around with all the collaborators, Heather, Katie Rose, Dido, Crit, Ada, Stivo, and Justin, to discuss the process of making this show. We'll also answer any questions you might have, so be sure to drop them in the chat after the show. Also, Heather's music will sound even more magical if you listen with headphones, so grab some if you've got them. Below in the description, you'll find a link to our Fractured Atlas page where you can make a donation. All donations go directly to tonight's collaborators, so please consider helping support this work and the artists who make this work possible. Also, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can reach our 1,000 subscriber goal by the end of the year. We're getting pretty close. One final reminder that what you are about to see tonight is live. This isn't a film or a pre-taped broadcast. This is happening right now, in this closet, in my apartment, as my neighbors can likely confirm for you. Now, let's get started. I'm going to take a brief 1-minute break so I can get into places, and so you can get your headphones. Thank you again, and enjoy. I am sending you the sacred face.
Open patent taten taken open pa. 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 Desires are mosquitoes, not bites. That sorry you want will also cost you bracelets. Somewhere we're taught we lose ourselves when we lose the things we like. Then we repeated it until we proved them right. Nihil habitans et omnia possidentes. So I only speak for me as I am in the world, not of it, to choose poverty, we love it for its clarity. I like my rotten bulgur, I delight in days of hunger. I like patching over my old two saris. I wear shoes that do not fit me, stink and sweat, refuse a fan, a phone, a TV, praise my lousy bed and head and hauling company. To work on poverty, to me you must be poor. My commonality with those I serve gives dignity, and equal at their eye, they come to us to die with the dignity of friendship, with an uncontested equal. Nihil habitans et omnia possidentes. Nihil habitans et omnia possidentes. You say the poor like they're one thing, like they're a theory and a herd, and not a people that outnumber you, not individual lives with crazy stories, moms and uncles, similar struggles, same intentions, different means. How many people have you alchemized to numbers? How many voices did you mute behind the comfort of your screen? Poverty is not a plague, it was not sent by God, but engineered by human systems. He won't fix it, that's your job. Oh, poverty's no plague, it was not nature who bestowed it, but our selfish raised ambitions that will bother God and run to it. Poverty's no plague, it's not a thing that simply happened. It is ours, and every second that continues passing while you are not offering your hand. Yes, your real hand is a waste of time. And time is unforgiving. So time is not like God, they say. Nihil habitans et omnia possidentes. The message of my life. That was it. It would be rude and misleading of me not to start with that. To do otherwise would be bad dramaturgy, as that is the message here painted on the outside of this vessel. Yes, vessel. This is a well-made vessel, custom built to relay that message to you. The reason you got it was not because I thought it, but because I became it with theatrics. Be the change you wish to see in the world as a kind of drag, the outfit matters. But just so we are clear, it was not posturing. I truly believe this message to be objectively true. Poverty is an exalted state. I treat the poor with dignity as befits this exalted state. From a religious perspective, the poor are closer to wisdom. I do not treat the poor with dignity out of pity or compassion. I treat them with dignity as an act of reverence. The poor are not just equal to you. From a religious perspective, they're better. Now, I was not born poor. I chose it along with this outfit. There is symbolism in the outfit, always. Some people call that marketing. You remember me when you see this outfit. And what do you remember? Me, the person? No. My dreams. You remember my dreams. This outfit affords me that kind of subliminal messaging. It's a teeny tiny phone call to a surfing synapses in your brain. Hello. Now there is additional symbolism in the outfit, which I will enumerate
Here. Faith is the inner tunic and is a brilliant white, the brilliant white of teeth, of the smile. This is a white so brilliant it is supposed to put out the eyes of the intellect, which is fabulous. Now over this white tunic of faith one puts this blue trim, this blue coat of mail. Blue is hope, by which one is defended, see, and also liberated from the thing that it ultimately represents, the world. More on that later. Blue hope is an armor and covers the whole body top to tail with no openings save for a little visor which allows the soul only to look heavenward and nowhere else. More on that later. Now over the white and over the blue as a finishing touch, one puts on the precious robe. This is charity. This is what everybody sees when they see you after being blinded by your smile. This is what you drag down the street. This is both the drag and what is drug. Yes? Now, let's talk about calls. I experienced a call when I was quite a young girl. My first call, that is. Which is the call to be a nun. This is an understated call. An intuition laced with a desire. Most nuns and monks you speak to will tell you something similar, like a phone in your heart. The phone's in your heart with this kind of call, yes? The second call I received was different. This was a phone in my face. This was an actual voice in my face that I received when I was truly not expecting it. On a train. The voice of someone who did not sound at all like anyone I'd ever met and was urgent. This was an urgent phone call from inside my face that I received while riding a train, and this was the call that got us here tonight. Me from wherever the heck I am, and you from wherever the heck you are. Somehow, serendipitously, in the same place. This is where it started. He said, "Your heart was never drowned in sorrow as my mother's." I said, "I stand with the mother. I dress as your mother dressed and perform her always." He said, "Will you not show me?" I said, "I will show you like this. I stand with the mother, as the mother, all right always." I promised him as such. That promise is a cup that I fill with my work and my love and my minutes. Go now to the poor. This conversation frightened me. Go now to the poor. God was testy. This is what was hard to bear. God did not make requests of me, he dared. And when I paused, "Will you not?" Like a child who's been neglected toward the dry arms of his father. "Won't you go ahead and try me? Will you not?" Not will you, not can you, not may you. "Will you not?" Not won't you, but you probably will not. I did try to stop the thoughts. I tried to be in silence. I could not. It came on booming. In a train car to Darjeeling. "Will you not?" Then every morning after, as a panic in my memory. Now, go now, go quickly. Will you not? What is asked is just as natural as it is supernatural. Will you not? The voice lives in two places at once. In the train car at 80 miles an hour, impossible. Will you not? And in the traveling space between the drums of my ears, as love made ghost, made clear, and argumentative. Go now to the poor. Why do you not? I say my answer lies with priests who know much better. Then you won't. Was this my first act of cowardice? I am too young to decide. Is obedience cowardice? Every day you do not leave passes in darkness. 100 pass in agony today. Will you not? Ultimately, the church would not consent till I could promise it success. But what is this success? What is success in matters of the hopeless? What now? So let me go, I said, tormented. Success is just a silly word that you invented. My doubt lived as an oily film on a well of my conviction. Deep enough to where no skiff could drop an anchor. My doubt floats at the top, but all the same pollutes the water.
Forgo caution, child.
When God asks for things, people are careful about details. When society asks for things, they are done quickly.
Forgo caution, child. Will you not?
This thirst is infinite. This is a thirst I rush to put out
Will you
like
not?
a trillion fires in a
Will you not?
thousand neighborhoods. I can't find them all in time. Quenching won't be possible.
Don't let that ease your mind. Just because it is untenable does not mean that it's not your calling. Will you now?
Okay,
Now.
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 okay.
Now.
And in the beginning you are vain. God has spoken to you through a telephone in your face. But a soul canoe don't float. A soul canoe don't float. If you want divine perspective, you got to get up out the boat. Don't you strain at your brother's neck and then swallow your own camel. Don't you claim that your brother's white with a soul that's still a gamble. You will know you're a beginner if your rapture is a show. If you're public and you're pleased not to let everybody know. So it's not nice to be suffered, not to punish you, but bolster both your real legs to the parapet. If jumping legs on a pride trapeze, God will then loose the net. There is competition, even in virtue. I will not hide from you that I have had my share of wanting to be the best at something. I was proud of my humility in the beginning. Are you? I ask that without an agenda, as we are 2 songs in now, so we are officially friends. Be the change you wish to see in the world is a kind of drag. I already said that. What I wanted to see more of in the world was humility. So, I became that change in order to fulfill my wish of seeing it. For most folks, humility is pretty unappealing. For one thing, you only get humility by acquiring humiliations. Nobody likes that, except for me. I accept humiliations. I am grateful for them. I call them my sweetie sweets. My smile is a cloak, not a coat. It doesn't keep me warm, but covered. It doesn't protect me, but you. It's a part of the outfit. And furthermore, it doesn't interfere with humility. I just wanted to be a nun, really. Ordered, submissive. I never wanted to be a leader. Being a leader requires a certain level of belief in oneself, which is a whisper's breath from pride, which is a different kind of cloak, one that protects me and not you. And I wouldn't abandon anyone like that. Abandonment is an awful poverty. Abandonment is what I call a second wound. The first wound is a given. You will be wounded in this life, but the second wound is one that comes just after it and lasts a very long time. That second wound is a wound of no one was concerned. I was wounded in the first place. I'm telling you this so that you can do your best to make sure that you aren't opening these second wounds anymore. Anyways, in the end, I wasn't taught the reality of feeling unloved and unwanted by others. I was taught that by God. But patched clothes are no disgrace. It's the same with spirits. Is loving your system the same thing as loving your breakfast? Don't answer that.
If you get the voice, you get it once. The voice has other ports of entry after that. Did you know, girl, when you heard it, it would never speak again? That it would leave you iron flat against its silence.
Being the change you wish to see in the world is kind of a drag.
My soul is out of its onesie, isn't coddled, is big enough to be put down, weaned, made to eat a bread with a crust. That is St. John's explanation for this silence. And now my soul is exposed, it is ready, prone to oxidation and a forceful gust of wind. And there are raptures and transports, a dislocation of the bones. I annihilate myself and strike this room of everything that was not part of the vessel. I'm the manger, I'm the cup, and I am ready, I am empty, 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 I am empty. The living image of the saint is one of horror, of a mouth open and gaping at its own husk in the mirror, surrounded by their own sleep, spiders eviscerated in their own webs, attacked by stronger giants, while they patch their robes with wash rags or rub ashes into paper cuts. I annihilate myself and strike this room of everything that was not part of the vessel. I'm the manger, I'm the cup, and I am ready, I am empty, 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 I am empty.
Saints do not practice self-care. We practice self-annihilation. If I was to publish The Idiot's Guide to Self-Annihilation, it would be short and likely not your favorite book. It would go like this. Page 1. First item. Seek out some suffering and then appreciate it when it shows up. It is hard to explain this to a modern person, this want of suffering. You cannot look at it with what you call your right mind. But without suffering, the work we do is social work, which is good and fine and helpful, but nothing to do with your soul, in my opinion. Anyway, the work is not yours. Page 2. This would be a blank page, followed by another blank page. And then there would be a page where I drew a single marigold. I really like the reminder of a marigold. They're named for Mary, you know, who is a true example of watching and feeling and continuing to stand upright. She blooms unseasonably. Where am I? Page 5. The second item. Once you have located your suffering, give a purpose to it. Give it to someone. You got no one to suffer for? Alright, suffer for me. Imagine that every time you lose your breath, or you cry out in pain, that it is an offering in a lunchbox of my energy, and I collect it through the air. And this is how I go on. Because of you. Your suffering has value. Anyway, the work is still not yours. That's the whole book, guys. I don't want to see my face anymore. It's a thing I use. It's not part of me, really. I don't want your candles. I don't want your stuff. If it's not abundantly clear, I am keeping this room vacant in expectation of... Well, anyway, he won't come unless the room is spotless. Excuse me. Hello?
Good morning and God bless you. Is this Mother Teresa?
Yes, I suppose it is.
This is an automated telephone survey. Is very official as to the nature of your progress within your calling. Please press 1 to comply. Welcome. Please answer the following questions with brutal honesty in order that we may fully assist you with your current station. Question 1. Do I really receive Holy Communion with faith and love?
No.
Question 3. Do I value the salvation of my soul?
I don't have one. There's nothing in me.
What are the dangerous occasions of mortal sin to which I am exposed?
My eyes.
Or what?
Dangerous.
Because of the distraction from
Because
God.
of the Exactly.
Working. Thank you. Do I desire to be poor with Christ's poor?
With my whole heart. I am not humble, but I am too small to be proud. I pray fervently to be forgotten, to be ignored, to be nothing to anyone. And this is how my prayer has been answered. Why are you laughing? Anyway, I do keep on saying the same prayer.
Do I avoid trying to shine in front of others?
I don't understand that
Do I
question.
accept desolation as ready as consolation?
I...
Do I accept dryness in prayer as a grace of God?
No, nothing inside of me.
Is there anything you would like to add, Mother Teresa?
Tell him I'm sorry. Ask him to give me the face of a smiling child.
Why is that my job?
Because he doesn't speak directly to me anymore. Hello? Hello? In a marriage, some things are kept private, kept even from the children. I cannot explain this part to you, so why unload the cart? I am undefended. I live undefended. The only shield I've got now is my quiet, and that isn't for myself. May my promise be a chalice I can pour into it lots of things, like minutes, like sweat, but not thoughts, 'cause thoughts are of the self. And I am emptying the cup of myself. I am undefended. I live undefended. The only shield I've got now is my smile, but I don't give that to myself. Tell you, let's just see what happens when a modern woman gives herself completely to be blank space? Will it keep her on her knees to see what's emptied from the cup of herself? A cup by nature won't track what it spills. A cup has two states, filling and emptying. I am in service, I have no actions of my own. One might say I was purified of human alloy. One might say I was ready to enter the deep things of God. One might say I was terribly unkind to myself. One might say I was unable to look at the whole picture. One might say I was never able to understand the whole picture. I have given myself to the small, to the one life at a time, for the one last breath and its qualities. I am undefended. I live undefended. I smile at this cardboard box that's getting filled with all kinds of important things. Big things I do not understand. It's a veritable box of treasures, and the plainness of the box won't mean it cannot bear the weight. I always said, if they ever tried to canonize me, I would want to be known as a patron saint of darkness. That I would not take my reward in heaven if it turned out that heaven was in fact a meritocracy. I said I would stick behind here. No thank you. I would stay. To be a friend to those who also go through this. And as luck would have it, here I am. Behind the bookcase of reality. And I have kept my promise to you. That's pretty wild. And one must observe from this vantage point that the living world is in fact a peach. Is the fleshy, peachy peach part, sure, has worms, also has a fuzz, has rind. And that rind is the peach's container. And maybe that rind is actually divinity, and we are here in between the two. Isn't that marvelous? Oh well. I did not do a very good job of giving you a biography. It's all quite sentimental, actually, in retrospect. And sentimentality is disordered. I abstain from it. Oh no. Oh, we're wrapping up. Wait, but I just realized I have a lot to say, actually, as it turns out. These are medieval dramatics, aren't they? My particular darkness was a medieval darkness done to a modern woman, so it was quite a show. Suffice it to say, I am an expert on this niche subject matter, and I am here to be the mother of your house. For anyone who's had a particularly hard go of it and thirsts for understanding, for the care of an older woman who loves you and has been there and has anecdotes. Child, think about where you were a year ago. Okay. This is not a trial by fire, this is renovation by fire. Fire. Fire, when applied to wood, dehydrates it and turns it black and brittle, makes it ugly, makes it sink. But the wood, if submerged now, wouldn't sink. 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 This isn't a trial by fire, this is renovation by fire. Everyone is called to be a saint. We have, compatible technologies, but we prefer different uses, to put it lightly. Furthermore, drying out the wood expels these dark and ugly accidents contrary to the fire. Fire turns the wood into itself. in a task without desire. Makes it then perform its action, so the wood is dry and dry, so the wood is hot and heats. Fire changes all it eats into itself. You are lighter and a light. You are brighter than before. 'Cause it is not a test by fire. This is not a trial by fire. This is renovation by fire. This isn't a trial by fire. This is renovation by fire. This is not a trial by fire. This is renovation by fire. This isn't a trial by fire. This is renovation by fire. We will not be able to talk about this when we emerge. So let's hold on to it now. We are beholding an object never before seen in itself or in its likeness, so we won't describe it well. And even if we could, God would hold our tongues. Or physics would screw around with the math. Because unlocking the divine mysteries means you have to unfix your brain and step outside of time. And when you step outside of time, we won't be able to talk. Simple as that. Grammar is temporal. All you'll be able to say is, like, do you perchance know the paths of the great clouds or the perfect sciences? And you'll go, everything is a miracle, yes? It's a miracle that one does not dissolve in one's bath like a lump of sugar. Wisdom is an abyss. Love has a simpler science. Not all is lost. Your prayer will be short if you understand that. Oh God. That's it. That's all you get. Oh God. The earth shook and trembled. Your way is in the sea, and your paths are in many waters, and as such, your footsteps will be washed quite away. And when I say I'll smile for you anyway, it costs me, it's an offering. A symbol works best when you put it in the room. The fact that I actually lived does not make me less of a parable.
Sabat mater dolorosa juxta crucem lacrimosa dum pendebat filius quius animam gementem contrit statam et dolentem per transivit gladius sancta Mate isturagas crucifixi fige plagas cordi meo valide.
And when your new soul arrives on the doorstep of the new world, don't be like the children of Israel in the desert, who when they were given manna craved onions from before the war. Let yourself get unused to how it was. The night will wipe your memory if you let it. Let it. We will not be going back.
Let me get a mic for you. Hey, everybody. Oh, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. I'm Joshua William Gelb, and you just watched I Am Sending You the Sacred Face by Heather Christian, brought to you by Theater in Quarantine and Theater Mitu's Expansion Works program. I'm just so thrilled that you could all make it for our opening, because what I didn't tell you earlier is that this is the first time Theater in Quarantine is trying something of a run. So yes, we're going to have the 9 p.m. show tonight, but we are also going to have a show on Wednesday at 9 and Friday at 9. So if you know people who might enjoy this, please spread the word on Instagram, on Twitter. Help us share this piece. Really appreciate it. We're hoping as we shift Theater in Quarantine to an every 3-week model, mostly for our sanity, that we'll be able to do longer runs of these shows. And anyway, I'm seeing a lot of questions already. And a lot of love for Stivo, all deserved. I want to firstly get our collaborators on Zoom. That way we can begin answering these questions. As I said earlier, please do subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. We're really close. We're over 850 and climbing. So, become one of them. I promise there are no unruly dues or emails to this subscription, except maybe you get a notification if we're in a dress rehearsal and you can sneak in if that's something you want. Hi, I'm almost there. This is the awkward part where I have to do these 2 things simultaneously. Now then.
My parents really enjoyed it, y'all.
Hey, shh.
Quiet.
Hey, all, be quiet.
Theater Mitu very much enjoyed it, and they're a bunch of snarky bitches.
Hey, everyone, I'm
about good.
Hi, all. I'm about to put you online, so quiet. Hold on one second. Let me just. They didn't read the guidelines. Well, I think that's correct. So that should work. I didn't frame this out earlier, so this is going to be a bit messy. Hold on one second. Yeah, got to do that. Come on. Beautiful. There we all are. I should probably plug in, but that involves gaff tape. Hold on. Gaff tape, a corset, a mic pack, belt, all sorts of stuff. Usually it's easier to access my headphones. Okay. Katie Rose, as always, will you please say something so we can know that we're connected? Katie Rose, would you mind saying something? Katie Rose, hey, would you mind saying something? KR, you there? Hold on. Wrong. See, I have a black magic and a black hole, and unfortunately, I always press the wrong one. But here you go, Katie Rose. Please say something.
Hello. Congratulations, Josh.
Oh, that's better. Great. I think we have it. Okay, good. I'm gonna put this into performance mode so the stream is better. There we are. I think we are all good. Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. So we have the creators of I Am Sending You the Sacred Face, of course. Let's all just go around and introduce ourselves, shall we? I need a glass of water. I don't know if you can all vamp
a big glass of water.
Great, thank you. I'll be back.
Great. Heather, do you want to go first?
Oh, fine. I'm Heather Christian. I am the writer-composer, and I guess performer, kind of, in this instance, as I recorded all of that voiceover myself in my house. Ada Westfall, I'm going to send it to you.
Hi, I'm Ada Westfall. I did a lot. I mixed most of the sound that you heard, most of Heather's recordings, and I added a couple of little musical elements here and there, and was sort of generally responsible for the sound design. Although I will also say that very much of that sound design comes from the brain of Heather Christian as well. So very much a team effort. Let me pass it to Crit.
Hi, I'm Crit. I am a design brain in the space of many ilks. I will pass it to Stivo.
Hello, I go by Stivo. I, on this project, probably identify as video synthesizer more than I do as video designer, because I was like collector of ideas more than I was sort of like arbiter of ideas. But very, very, very grateful to have been a part of this process. And to Justin.
I think I'm the last person standing here. Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Nestor. I'm the co-artistic director of Theater Mitu, and part of making expansion works happen this year and bridging the magic of Theater in Quarantine and Theater Mitu. And I'm a sort of catch-all, making sure that everybody has what everybody needs and making sure this all happens. Thrilled to be working on another Theater in Quarantine project. So thanks, everybody.
Yay. And I'm Katie Rose McLaughlin. I'm a co-creative director of Theater in Quarantine, and I choreographed this show, this extravaganza. Josh, how's that water?
What? Well, this is bourbon, but the water was great.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone again so much for being here. This is very exciting. We have one question just right off the bat. Should we jump in?
Yes, let's.
Great. So this is a question for you, Heather. Are the words taken verbatim from Mother Teresa's actual speeches, writings, interviews?
Some of them, yes. There are sections that are verbatim sections. The majority of the songs, and some of the voiceover pieces start as verbatim text that I sort of, with my wacky brain, followed to what I consider its logical next point. And then I tried to sort of make a Francis Bacon painting out of wherever that destination ended up being. But there's a lot of places that yes are verbatim text. The phone call survey is in fact verbatim text that was a written survey that she took. There's a couple of books that I read that have recently come out that were her private writings that were unpublished until quite recently, where all of this dark night of the soul revelation came about. Now she is on record as being the saint with the longest running dark night of the soul. Over 50 years, she experienced a dark night. And then a lot of the readings are verbatim from St. John of the Cross's writings on what exactly is a dark night of the soul. So a lot of the like more parable symbolic talks come from I've taken those words and sort of, trashed them up a bit, but all of those ideas are from that book.
Amazing. And how did you first come to Mother Teresa?
I'm going to preface this with I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. So when I was quite young, she was quite famous and magical as like a living saint. She had this aura around her of being this warrior, this impossible person. And I thought she was magical. So that's sort of where it started. And then I've sort of lived with sound bites of her for my adult life. And it wasn't until this project that I was like, I'm going to do a deep dive and figure out what's here. But I really appreciate the sound bites. Everything that I came across is like, the memes that you come across of what Mother Teresa says. I'm always like, yes, actually. So I wanted to get in there and see how much more I agreed with or figure out what I didn't agree with. She was complex, as it turns out.
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting what you just said also about like growing up with her as this like magical creature, because that's sort of how this project came to Theater in Quarantine as well, is that you came to us and you were like, I have all these what you called orphan babies, these little pieces of things, these nuggets of shows that aren't a traditional 2.5 hour long show, but are like a really solid 40 minutes. And Mother Teresa was the one that stuck out to me because I also have the same feeling, having not been raised religious at all. She was definitely just like around like this pop culture, like saintly woman. So that was really interesting. Josh, what's your Mother Teresa background?
Well, we talked a bit about how you know, she died the same day as the same week as Princess Diana.
Yeah.
Who's having her own moment right now. And that was that. So those stick out. That week sticks out very palpably. So anyway, that's where I came. I mean, ultimately, it was. I mean, Heather approached us, and we were just so thrilled, and we're excited to do firstly a musical. To really open up I always thought in like a very Quixotean way, like, let's do a musical in the closet, which is the most impossible thing you can dream of because the sync issues are just so impossible. And Heather, of course, was like, well, don't worry, this is going to be a drag show, so we'll do lip sync. And I mean, as it turns out, the sync issues are exactly the same problems. You know, it's like, how do we synchronize the audio with my lips? And how do I, you know, fathom learning this entire score in order to be able to lip sync with it? So that's been this process. And yeah. Should we answer other questions?
Yeah, totally.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, speaking of process, Ryan's asking, what was the rehearsal creative process like for this piece? And I'd love to hear from the people who aren't theater and quarantine regulars.
Great, so I'll start. It was one of the more democratic rooms I've ever been a part of. They're very much, it was like we're all wearing so many hats that it's just sort of like there's a group organism. There's like a creative organism more than there is, it's just like, this is a democracy in a way that I haven't really experienced. I mean, I've worked in devised theater a lot, but like this was really democratic. And as a result, like I felt like I could have input in areas that were not mine per se, which was fun. I got to like glue sequence to or rhinestones to a phone and like.
Yes, get the phone, Josh. Show us the phone up close.
I'm connected to headphones.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I asked you to do
it's tangled in the tangle. It
was a bad idea.
I
forget I said anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a trip to do this on Zoom. It's a trip to do this virtually. But I found that because you guys are so graceful and have been doing this for so long, and you're such generous artists, that like you fall into the swing pretty quickly.
Mm. And of course, Heather approached us like in August, I want to say. Yeah. So there was like a couple of months of leeway for you to write the score. At which point, I believe. And we knew with Justin and Theater Mitu that we were going to work on this in the December slot. But it wasn't really till a couple weeks ago that Katie Rose, Heather, Crit, and I got together, started actually dreaming up of the storyboard possibilities of the world with like a generally full draft. And I'd say Ada and Stivo, like, you two didn't come on until like just a tiny bit over 2 weeks ago. So, like, I'm kind of dumbfounded that we were able to really do this in the 2 weeks that we say we do things in. Usually we fudge it and, like, you know, we'll refine rehearsal time, you know, but we really did this one in 2 weeks and managed not to throttle each other, you know, even remotely. So I'm surprised.
Well, I think that's something that is so impressive about theater in quarantine as sort of an institution, and then this group of people in particular is like, you know, I think something that I wouldn't have known other than that I've been listening to Justin as the artistic director of Theater Mitu, like working on these, is that is about the technical choke point that we're having to deal with at all times. Is that all of our tech lives in the room you're sitting in, Josh. And in fact, the computer that's running everything it's the one you're staring at right now, right? Or is the one next to the one
that's the one. This is just streaming
next
stuff.
to this one, yeah. So that means that we're, you would any normal non-quarantine version of this process, we'd all be sitting in a room together, and Stivo would get dark time to work on video, and I would get quiet time to do my sound things and whatever. But instead, we're all having to network into your computer and sort of like politely elbow each other out of the way so that we can have our turn taking over your screen to make things happen. And I can see that with the wrong mix of folks getting so frustrating and so contentious and so difficult. And I thought what was so wonderful about this experience was that everybody had this, like, we're going to get it done. The given is that we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done on time, and we're going to do it to the best of our ability. But even in these circumstances that could be incredibly crazy making, everybody was so generous and so willing to make space for each other. And that's just, I think that's a rare thing, truly. It makes you really think like, wow, I never want to be in a quote unquote, real live theater process again and have people at each other's throats ever again. Because if we can do it this way, there's no excuse, I
guess I would just add that what's remarkable is that it felt like a normal tech process. It's like it was just your computer in your room, but all of us on Zoom, for whatever reason, just felt like we were all in the room together. And I guess I realized how much I've been missing that. This is like kind of my first theater thing back since March. And it's been incredibly rewarding to have to navigate those sort of avenues, sharing the same computer, et cetera, and sharing ideas and going back and forth about ideas and stuff. It felt like a level of normalcy for me personally. And so I'll just keep echoing how grateful I feel to have been asked.
Oh,
I totally relate to that, Stivo. And I think also something that really actually sets this process apart is going back to what Heather was saying is like a mutual agency, like from the very beginning. And like, I think so often your design spaces start in very disparate conversations. You're like, okay, we're gonna have the set conversation, we're gonna have the lighting conversation, and then maybe we'll all get together. But I think one thing that I so appreciated about this process is that even though it was so fast that we all kind of like, at whatever point anybody entered, it was just like, come into the room and your voice is as powerful in any sort of area, even if it's outside of your given expertise. And also with such an expedited process that the conversation still started with really big questions. Like it didn't start with like from a practical, like, what is the answer? It was just like, okay, we have all these big questions we have to ask about the piece. And so we sort of like took time to sort of navigate through those and keep evolving them, which was also very exciting.
Well, we always talk about like how this digital space has sort of insisted upon a more severe fluidity of roles. Like, and that's exacerbated by the fact that I'm in the piece. So, directing and acting forces the brunt of like a certain amount of objective direction to happen from all of you. But that being said, scenic is video, is lighting. It's all the same in a way. So sure, there's the tangible scenic world, but then there is everything that happens in the pixel world or the non-meat space. And that's an entire, that's a fascinating fluidity that I think helps amplify the democracy that we're calling it and what makes it so exciting.
I mean, it's what drew, I think, me initially, and then lots of other Theater Me Too members to have this conversation in relationship to theater in quarantine and expansion works, which is that, you know, we are forced to, because of this new medium, expand our practices outside of the boundaries of how we normally define them. Because yes, exactly like you're saying, scenic is video, which is audio, and we can only experience it. You know, the choke point in some ways is this advantage that forces us to learn new languages and forces us to collaborate and work with each other in a new way. And I think that sort of like bilingual, trilingual, multilingual experience is not only a valuable one, but I think one that we have all experienced the boons of in this process. And certainly, you know, if one does have a kind of primary artistic practice, really strengthens that practice. So, you know, knowing that you can speak these other words and other languages, I think it's really powerful.
Well, and that I think all that from kind of once we moved out of just sort of talking about the material into rehearsing that all elements are in play from all moments. I mean, in different forms of like completion, but you know, again, so often you're like really waiting for, you know, I come from such a scenic background, but so like you're waiting for the like thing to arrive, and here so many elements can immediately be played with, even if it's in a rough state, which is also very compelling.
You did some drafting, and that thing was built by like the time we started our 2 weeks. So like that's how we work, and it's how you have to work. So I just want to jump in briefly. First off, everyone who's still watching, thank you all so much for coming. Again, please, we got a 9 p.m. show, so, you know, send the word out to people. And then we also have shows on Wednesday and Friday. Also subscribe. But that's all the action points I'm going to ask of you. That being said, I am so thrilled that you came, and I do have to get going because, so, you know, truth be told, theater in quarantine, we always do things, you know, or we generally do things, I am always by myself. Today, I am with a very special person who is Jean Liu, who is my makeup artist. And Jean is waiting for me because I have to do a show in 55 minutes, and I still have to totally redo the set. So, I'm going to go... I'd say get into the makeup chair, but frankly, it's me sitting on my dining room table. And I am going to get makeup done. I'm going to leave the speaker on, though, so you can continue talking, because there's some great questions. Also, Julius, I want to say thank you, because you said good job twice. So thank you, Julius. And there's some great questions about drag dramaturgy that I think is really fascinating. I would love for you to keep talking about. But I do have to go. I'm going to leave the speaker on, but I'm going to mute myself. And when someone says, Josh, we're done, turn off the feed, I'll turn off the feed, okay? Thank you all so much. I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of Katie Rose McLaughlin and the team of I Am Sending You the Sacred Face. Thank you.
Yay, Josh. Yay.
And yeah, that'll do.
Okay. We do have a couple more questions. One of which was in addition to the Chris Bell. Hello, Chris. Love you. In addition to the great music and text, I love the look of this piece as well. Can you talk more about the overall look of the piece? Where did it come from? How was it developed? Crit, you want to start us off?
Sure. Well, I think the first image that was sort of presented was this idea of triptych, which was sort of presented in a very abstract form, but we started getting excited about actually essentially looking at Renaissance altarpieces. And I think what was exciting about this idea of the triptych, which also related back to the closet for me, is the idea of this mystery space that can keep unfolding and revealing more and more, which was sort of an experience of watching the show as well. And then I feel like the next exciting piece of research we discovered were all of these amazing gifts of Mother Teresa. If you want to go into a deep Google dive to look up some of those, because sort of trying to explode our idea of drag and camp and how to combine that with her as a literal icon, and that felt like a great window in also for me because of the very digital space that we're in. So like how to make both very concrete material feeling choices in the closet and then combine it with a very digital space as well to kind of collide those elements. And how to kind of keep flipping it on its head. And then also, I think setting up a contrasting space for the sort of middle section of the closet in a very literal stripped away barren space and embracing darkness and sort of like removing all of the glam that we had. So that's kind of like some big ideas that we were playing around with.
Well, one thing that's so interesting about working in theater in quarantine, especially in the context of like, I guess a traditional musical, is that the way the piece moves is through choreography, is through like human bodies moving through space. And sometimes it is like set pieces coming in and moving around, but I feel like the real true driver of this is like the way the video functions and the way the design functions within the way the video moves to actually like physically get the pieces moving, because Josh is in a closet that is 4 by 2 by 8. Do any of you want to talk a little bit about that as well, Stivo? Anyone?
Yeah, I have to say that, I joined pretty late in the process, and I feel like what I inherited was like all of these beautiful imaginative ways of using Isadora as like a paintbrush, as like an artist's tool. Josh has taken to this program. Isadora is the video rendering program that we use.
Named after Isadora Duncan, which I find hilarious.
Awesome. And I quickly stepped into this role of like wanting to like support and encourage that work. Like maybe it was I just feel like how Josh intuitively programmed that like the call scene, for example, was really beautiful. It was really messy and hard to like get into and try and parse out. But I found myself wanting to encourage and support that work as much as possible with my knowledge and previous experience. That's my answer. Sorry, I don't remember the question.
No, it's so good. Do we? Yeah. I mean, Josh is amazing. Is like sort of one of the big takeaways from any theater in quarantine process. I think we all had moments of the one thing that's awful about theater in quarantine is we get to watch Josh have to do all these crazy things that we dream up, and we can't help him. We're like, oh, do this thing and this thing and this thing, and like, okay, like it would be so much easier if one of us was there to just like make it happen. But that's sort of the glory of all of this is, like Ada was saying, it's just like channeled through this one human and this one computer. Alexandra asks about what drag dramaturgy consists of. And we don't have Dito, our lovely drag dramaturg, but he will be at the talkback at 9 o'clock. So if you want to come back and watch that show again and want to talk back, you can talk to him. But Heather, I would love if you wouldn't mind chatting a little bit about that.
Sure. So as soon as I decided that it probably should be a drag show, that made sense. I was like, I've worked with so many drag artists. I've had the fortune of working with so many drag artists that I love and admire, and I've sort of like come up in the world of support for that community. I wanted to write this as an act of, as an homage to, as a love note to the drag community. But I needed to be sure that I had a drag queen's eyes on it, honestly. That I knew that the things that I was doing were done in respect. That the things that we were screwing around with, that we weren't either going too far or that we weren't throwing away so many of the things that drag is. That this became a different thing. I wanted to understand just what the rules are, if there are rules, and beyond what I know. And I think that it was deeply important to me to have the perspective of somebody who has embodied being a performer with an alternate persona in a way that I feel like Mother Teresa did. She sort of had this, her alternate persona, her sacred face, as I've been calling it, had its own energy source, had its own life source, had its own source of strength, could do things when she didn't feel strong enough to do them. Sometimes I feel like that about my performer entity, but I think that for me that's just adrenaline. But I feel like, at least in a poetic way, I've seen drag queens that I know and love have a similar have a similar relationship with their drag personas. So I am one of Martha Graham Cracker's, who's Dito's drag persona. I'm one of Martha Graham Cracker's biggest fans. It was an absolute treat to actually to bring Dito into the room and to work with him and be dual-led by Martha and Dito. So that's kind of what drag dramaturgy is. I just wanted an eye on it because I'm not a drag performer. I'm just somebody who loves drag. That's all.
And Dito was such a we're a small but mighty crew of sort of beautiful. All of you are just such amazing humans, and also just so smart. And I want to thank you all so much for being here. Everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. We're getting some like crazy sound issues, so I encourage you, everyone who's still watching, to come back to the 9 o'clock where you can ask us more questions. Hopefully we'll fix the sound issue that's happening to all of you. Tell your friends. Tell everyone you know. We also have a show on Wednesday at 9 and Friday at 9. This is the first time Theater in Quarantine has ever done an extended run. So spread the word if you can. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Theater Mitu and Expansion Works. Thank you all of you beautiful humans. Thank you, Heather, for gathering us all here. That's it. I'm Katie Rose. Josh, we're done. Wonder how well this is going to work.
We're about to find out.
It's working fine. I realized what the sound issue is. I have to mute myself in both OBS and Zoom.
I see.
So that's all. This is the first time we've ever done this.
Thank you, Josh.
So hey, anyhow, thank you all again, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Again, check back in, see how it turns out by Friday. But thank you all, and thank you to the team, and I gotta get going. 9 o'clock is really fast approaching. Bye, all. Okay, you're all clear.
Let us all together
Yay.
thank God
Yay.
for this beautiful occasion where we can all together proclaim the joy of spreading peace, the joy of loving one another, and the joy acknowledging that the poorest of the poor are our brothers and sisters. As we have gathered here to thank God for this gift of peace, I have given you all the prayer for peace that St. Francis of Assisi prayed many years ago. And I wonder, he must have felt the need what we feel today to pray for. I think you have all got a paper with you. We'll say it together. Lord, make me a channel of your peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by forgetting self that one finds. It is by forgiving that one is forgiven. It is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. God loved the world so much that he gave his son, and he gave him to a virgin, the Blessed Virgin Mary. And she, the moment he came in her life, went in haste to give him to others. And what did she do there? She did the work of the handmaid. Just serve. Just spread that joy of loving through service. And Jesus Christ loved you and loved me, and he gave his life for us. And as if that was not enough for him, he kept on saying, love as I have loved you, as I love you now. And how do we have to love? To love in the giving. For he gave his life for us. And he keeps on giving. And he keeps on giving right here, everywhere, in our own lives and in the lives of others. It was not enough for him to die for us. He wanted that we love one another, that we see him in each other. That's why I said, blessed are the clean of heart, for they shall see God. And to make sure that we understand what he means, he said that the hour of death, we are going to be judged on what we have been to the poor, to the hungry, the naked, the homeless. And he makes himself that hungry one, that naked one, that homeless one, not only hungry for bread, but hungry for love, not only naked for a piece of cloth, but naked with of that human dignity, not only homeless for a room to live, but homeless for that being forgotten, being unloved, uncared, being nobody to nobody, having forgotten what is human love, what is human touch, what is to be loved by somebody. And he says, whatever you did, the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. It is so beautiful for us to become holy through this love. For holiness is not the luxury of the few. It is a simple duty for each one of us. And through this love, we can become holy. Through this love for one another. And today, when I have received this award, I personally am most unworthy. And I, having a vow of poverty, to be able to understand the poor, I choose the poverty of our poor people. But I am grateful, and I'm very happy to receive it in the name of the hungry, of the naked, of the homeless, of the crippled, of the blind, of the lepers, of all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared, throwaway of the society, people who have become a burden to the society and are shunned by everybody. In their name, I accept the award. And I'm sure this award is going to bring an understanding love between the rich and the poor. And this is what Jesus has insisted so much. That's why Jesus came on earth, to proclaim the good news to the poor. And through this award, and through all of us gathered here together, we are wanting to proclaim the good news to the poor, that God loves them, that we love them, that they are somebody to us, that they too have been created by the same loving hand of God, to love and to be loved. Our poor people are great people, are very lovable people. They don't need our pity and sympathy. They need our understanding love. They need our respect. They need that we treat them with dignity. And I think this is the greatest poverty that we experience, that we have in front of them, who may be dying for a piece of bread, but they die with such dignity. I never forget when I brought a man from the street. He was covered with maggots. His face was the only place that was clean. And yet that man, when we brought him to our home for the dying, he said just one sentence: I have lived like an animal in the street, but I am going to die like an angel, love and care. And he died beautifully. He went home to God. For death is nothing but going home to God. And he, having enjoyed that love, that being wanted, that being loved, being somebody to somebody at the last moment, brought that joy in his life. And I feel one thing I want to share with you all. The greatest destroyer of peace today is the cry of the innocent, unborn child. For if a mother can murder her own child in her own womb, what is left for you and for me to kill each other? Even in the scripture, it is written, even if mother could forget her child, I will not forget you. I have curved you in the palm of my hand. Even if mother could forget. But today, millions of unborn children are being killed. And we say nothing. In the newspapers, you read numbers of this one and that one being killed, this being this one. But nobody speaks of the millions of little ones who have been conceived with the same life as you and I, with the life of God. And we say nothing. We allow it. To me, the nations who have legalized abortion, they are the poorest nation. They are afraid of little one. They are afraid of the unborn child. And the child must die because they don't want to feed one more child, to educate one more child. The child must die. And here I ask you, in the name of these little ones, for it was that unborn child that recognized the presence of Jesus. When Mary came to visit Elizabeth, her cousin. As we read in the Gospel, the moment Mary came into the house, the little one in the womb of his mother leaped with joy, recognized the Prince of Peace. And so today, let us here make a strong resolution. We are going to save every little child, every unborn child, give them a chance to be born. And what we are doing, we are fighting abortion by adoption. And the good God has blessed the work so beautifully that we are saved thousands of children, and thousands of children have found a home where they are loved, they are wanted, they are cared. We have brought so much joy in the homes that there was not a child. And so today I ask, since His Majesty is here, and before you all who come from different countries, let us all pray that we have the courage to stand by the unborn child and give the child an opportunity to love and to be loved. And I think with God's grace, we will be able to bring peace in the world. We have an opportunity. Here in Norway, you are, with God's blessing, you are well-to-do. But I'm sure in the families, in many of our homes, maybe we are not hungry for a piece of bread, but maybe there is somebody there in the family who is unwanted, unloved, uncared, forgotten. There is love. Love begins at home. And love to be true has to hurt. I never forget the little child who taught me a very beautiful lesson. They heard in Calcutta, the children, that Mother Teresa has no sugar for her children. And this little one, Hindu boy, 4 years old, he went home and he told his parents, I will not eat sugar for 3 days. I will give my sugar to Mother Teresa. How much a little child can eat? After 3 days, they brought him to our house. And there was this little one who could scarcely pronounce my name. He loved with great love. He loved until it hurt. And this is what I bring before you. To love one another until it hurts. But don't forget that there are many children, many men and women who haven't got what you have. And remember to love them until it hurts. Some time ago, this to you will sound very strange, but I brought a girl child from the street, and I could see in the face of the child that the child was hungry. God knows how many days they had not eaten. So I gave her a piece of bread. And the little one started eating the bread crumb by crumb. And I said to the child, eat the bread. Eat the bread. And she looked at me and said, I'm afraid to eat the bread because I'm afraid when it is finished, I will be hungry again. This is a reality. And yet there is that greatness of the poor. One evening, a gentleman came to our house and said, there is a Hindu family with 8 children, have not eaten for a long time. Do something for them. And I took rice and I went immediately. And there was this mother, those little ones' faces, shining eyes from sheer hunger. She took the rice from my hands. She divided it into 2 and she went out. When she came back, I asked her, where did you go? What did you do? And one answer she gave me, they are hungry also. She knew that the next door neighbor, a Muslim family, was hungry. What surprised me most, not that she gave the rice, but what surprised me most, that in her suffering, in her hunger, she knew that somebody else was hungry. And she had the courage to share. And she had the love to share. And this is what I want you to love the poor. And never turn your back to the poor. For in turning your back to the poor, you are turning it to Christ. For he had made himself the hungry one, the naked one, the homeless one, so that you and I have an opportunity to love him. Because where is God? How can we love God? It's not enough to say, my God, I love you. But my God, I love you. Yeah. I can enjoy this, but I give up. I could eat that sugar, but I give that sugar. If I stay here the whole day and the whole night, you would be surprised of the beautiful things that people do to share the joy of giving. And so my prayer for you is that we bring prayer in our homes. And from the fruit of prayer will be that we believe that in the poor, it is Christ. And if we really believe, we will begin to love. And if we love naturally, we will try to do something. First, in our own home, next door neighbor, in the country we live, in the whole world. And let us all join in that one prayer. God, give us courage to protect the unborn child. For the child is the greatest gift of God to a family, to a nation, and to the whole world.